Hello guys, back for another vlog. Thanks to everybody who's checking out the vlog for the first time. So basically this is a video where I get to talk about whatever the heck I want to talk about. And first thing I want to talk about, ironically enough, is so I was watching 64-bit Matthew's video the other day. He's recently basically completed his N64 collection. I know he's actually even completed his Virtual Boy collection also. But he talked about a couple sites that he had got games for, and one of them was Lukey Games. And I went there and I ordered some stuff. Now, the only thing I don't like about the site is they use stock photos, and I only hate that about sites because I don't know. Like, I like to see what actually looks like what I'm getting, but I figure, okay, this is one order. I'm going to take a chance because there's a certain thing I can't talk about because it's gifts that I really want to get. They have it. It's a decent price. I'll take a shot on it. But at that site, when you order stuff, you basically, other sites do this. Transformer sites have done this, where you buy something and then you get points, and then if you, after you accumulate so many points, they have a list of things you could use those points for and get something. Well, with those points from getting stuff, I got bases loaded for the NES. Now, I already have bases loaded in 2 or 3, but I'm surprised I only don't have 1. I've seen it, I've just never picked it up, so the label is not perfect condition, but you know what? The cart works. And later on down the road, because like sport games like this don't cost anything, if I run into a better copy, it's no big deal. But now I can play it, and that's all that matters. And it's funny when people talk about why so many people don't like to play sport games today, and I put this one in and played it. And the reason when you talk about why the 8 and 16-bit eras of sport games are loved so much, at least this is for me, this is why I love them so much, is these games are basically simple to play, right? One button to hit, one button to pitch. You can, move the, of course you can use the D-pad to move where predict where the ball's going, or when you swing, you're trying to swing a certain direct, out of the box, up, down, whatever. But overall, simple control, simple to understand. You don't have to know every single thing about the sport to play this game. Whereas you play a sport game today, you have to know every detail of the sport. And so that's why, especially me, I love these whole things. Don't get me wrong, I can play Madden today, but there's just something fun about sitting down and not having to think about anything and just playing something. So when the rest of that stuff gets into really cool, so that's cool. I've kind of want to, you kind of get stuck in that. If I want a game, I'm going to buy it on eBay, and I want to I'm trying to expand outside of that. Try to sites that actually sell games that aren't overpriced. Trust me, there are a couple sites I went to that are insanely overpriced with games. And to me, I guess it's because I'm isolated in most part of my local market, or I've gotten a lot of these things like last couple of years that it's unbelievable to see how much some of those games have incredibly jumped up in prices on selling sites, and some of the games are way overpriced. Like, in my head, I would think of Jaws as only couple dollar game, but that game is now a $6-7 game. Even in my local area, that's how much Jaws on the NES goes for. So that is what it is. So I made a video, early in the week where normally this vlog would be because it was the 15th anniversary of the Dreamcast. The Dreamcast always has a special place in my heart. When I got the Black Sports Edition, I talked about in that video already, and I just fell in love with how greatly designed that system was, how great of a system that was, and how a lot of things worked great on that system. And one of the games I originally bought for it that I ended up putting in the night I made that video because I was going to celebrate the Dreamcast was Grandia II. Now, I've never beaten this game, believe it or not, so I'm a Geohound, of course, because that's what you are in this game. So I'm going to play through this game all the way. I'm going to keep playing at it. Until I get to the end of this game. Here's what's funny. To me, this game still has one of the best openings of any video game, at least any RPG I've played. It still holds up so beautifully today. It is such an awesome intro. I love the intro of this game. And the storytelling. And even looking at it now, just like I did back then, the way they did things, you tried things differently with simple things they did in the game. I really did appreciate, just like when they show the screen, your character slowly tilting the screen in the 3D effect to, where your character is and talking and stuff. Just a beautiful game. And I can't wait to play through that. Even though I know they released that game on the PlayStation 2, I had a Dreamcast and I really want to play through it. Of course, the PlayStation 1 birthday was on the night too, but they don't. It was the 19th birthday, and to me, it's bigger to make a bigger deal next year when the PlayStation actually says 20 years old, which is amazing. It doesn't feel that long to me, but it is. So talking about other things I got this week, nothing I owned, but we went to our library. Now, I don't go there that often. Usually, quite honestly, my wife usually takes my son when I'm at work and stuff. But my schedule at work obviously has gotten less hours, lighter, so I'm able to do these things now. And so since I became a regular at work, and we all went together, and my son has this page to read so many books. He gets something from school. I don't remember what it is. So many different things, like read about a foreign country, your own state, chapter book, all this stuff. And I'm lucky, to be honest. I have a son who loves to read. We read to him, basically the minute he was born. We started reading to him, and he just got sick of. I don't know if it was the way we were reading it or he just didn't like what we did, so he just wanted to read on his own. And very early on, he just started reading on his own. And he's like me when I was a kid. See, when I was a kid, when I do something in general, but especially reading, I would be so into reading, I block everything out, right? Nothing. I don't know anything going around me. I'm just into that book. And that's the way he is, that if you go, okay, go to bed and you can read until, I tell you to or fall asleep, and you don't go in there and tell him to stop reading, 2 hours later, he'll still be reading. That's how much. He came home from the library and read 5 books that night. So he loves to read. And I haven't really done a lot of reading. And part of that might be because I get a lot of my video game news and stuff online, and always looking up video games. Trying to get back into some of the other stuff I kind of ignore. I mean, I love video games, but there's a certain point where you know enough about the stuff that you're looking into, and there's always other things in life to learn. So this first book I checked out in the library just came out. It's from one of my favorite authors. It's Terry Brooks. This is The Defenders of Shannara. I always pronounce the Shannara wrong. The High Droid's Blade. Absolutely love the very first book of the series. What came out in, I think, 1977. I got a funny story about this. I had never read this series, right? And one of my friends growing up, I went over to his house. He was a newer friend at the time. Well, I didn't meet him till about, I would say about middle school. Nah, it was more, actually, it was in high school. I met him at the very beginning of high school. One of my last, childhood friends I made in that school, in that town. We lived in a small town all my life, knew everybody, but he was last person I really made a friend was then. I had my friends I grew up with, I'd always seen all the time. And he had the original book in the series sitting on his bed, on his bedstand. It was just always sitting there, right? It was a big, thick book and, hardcover. And one day I just asked, what is this? And I looked at it and I was curious, so I read the book, fell in love with it, and have read the series ever since. This is a great book series. When you read one of these books, they're you know what you're getting into. The elf stones and all that stuff. The same certain things are always going to show up. But love the personal stories, and again, love this science fiction book. And yes, it has a map in it. I know people hate that. This is a funny about science fiction now. When you do a science fiction series, people hate when they automatically see a map inside the cover. But this one does have one, so really good. Love this book series. Reading it for well over 20 years now. So the next thing I picked up, ironically, talking about other hobbies I have. I have been a comic book fan, I remember being a kid, a small kid, in the house we lived in, and we bought it. There was a Incredible Hulk, the cover was missing, jammed in one of the room that would eventually be our toy room, which was later moved over to the next room over. And in that toy room, it was there, and I found it one day, and it was Hulk fighting dinosaur creatures. And I just came enthralled with that book. I'd read that book over and over again as a little kid. And I guess that originally started me liking comic books. Of course, the comic book shows, Spider-Man, Captain America TV series, a lot of people don't even talk about anymore. Live-action TV series, Wonder Woman, all that stuff. Got me into comic books. And in the 90s when Batman came out, the movie, I got into it and I've pretty much stayed into it on and off ever since. I was surprised they had this in my library, because to me this would be more of a reference book, but you can check it out, and that is the 44th edition of the Overstreet Comic Book Price Guide, which I didn't even know this still came out anymore. Like, you know, the actual guide comes out, but it still does come out. A big, thick book of all prices of comic books, and you know, like, see, it just shows, like, the covers and everything like that. So, the reason I got this was there's my comic book cafe, which I finally started making videos on again, you know, because I love comic books. You know, I just made a video about talking about it. Reviewed both the first and second issue of Death of Wolverine, which unfortunately you're killing off Wolverine, but it seems more like a side story. It's supposed to be a big event, but so far the first two issues have been very disappointing kind of thing. But besides doing that, I want to look through and find old comic books that maybe I forgot about that I'd like to review, or maybe I haven't even read that I'd like to review. Because it's great to talk about new stuff, but it is fun to go and talk about the old stuff. You know, I know I don't have to look for this for the 90s, because any comic book that came out in the 90s basically isn't worth anything because they're overproduced and everything else, so that's not even an issue. I go into any mom and pop store or any trading post or anything like that, and they just got boxes of 90s comic books, right? They're not even hard to find anymore. They're not expensive because there's so many of them, but this is just fun to look at. And to look through, it's kind of fun to look through all the comic books you may have forgot that ever existed. Now this is again kind of a reference book. They had this edition, last year's edition. I got it, I checked it out again to look at it, and that is, of course, was a Forest Travel Japan, which has temples, shrines, shops, gardens, seafood, sushi. Now it also has about lifestyle and stuff in there. And here's what I think about this, and I'll say this, being someone who's read the books that like are out for the United States and stuff. These books really don't capture truly the entire, like, what a real life is to live in that country, but it does give you a small idea of what's going on over there. I got this more someday I do when I go to Japan, but I got this more to look up places that I want to like look up online and learn more about, because this is more of a small reference guide. You know, not very fun reading, quite frankly. If you don't, you know, this is not a real story, so it's going to kind of be boring and kind of dry. But just for locations, places, maybe new things I don't know about. Just that's all I got for it. It's kind of fun to look through. So I got that stuff in the library. Didn't check out a lot. The actual Terry Brooks book's due back next week because it's a new book. So I'm gonna start reading that tomorrow too. Outside of that front, you know, talk about the comic book channel. On this channel, you know, I haven't done a YouTube game community in 2 weeks, so I'm going to get that done. I'm taking my time with it, because one of the things I don't have is a checkout channel thing, and I really want to get like small channels, the checkout channel thing to, you know, to check out that list, come back on there, and so I'm taking my time with that. No big rush. I mean, I kind of used to say every Wednesday, but now it's like I'm going to try to do one every week. Maybe it's every 2 weeks. It just depends how things go. My video game life is recorded. I have a little bit to edit to put in there, and then I can upload that. It didn't seem... it's a case of I had it done the day I did the Dreamcast video, but it didn't seem right the day the Dreamcast came out to put that out that day to make the Dreamcast video seem more appropriate. And outside of that, digging and playing through my video game collection has been my main focus for when it comes to the gaming side. Not necessarily focusing on getting a lot more right now, because we're gearing up for the holidays now, and to me it's more important to make, you know, get stuff for other people than myself. So doing that, and I know I mentioned about like working down here. That hasn't happened. I came a regular, and the money situation's changed a little bit, and other stuff going on. So there hasn't been any work done down here yet, but that'll happen. It's just one of those things. I mean, still straightening things out. So that part is getting, you know, close to being done. Haven't took any of my other N64s and traded them in yet, so I gotta get that done. Sorry, I had to leave. Something happened. So basically, to finish off this vlog, one last thing. I completely forgot about the library before I finish up. When we go to my library, they actually have video games you can actually check out there. You know, they have PS3, Xbox 360, GameCube, which ironically they have the GameCube games in their original case, and you check out the case of the game. They also have Vita, and believe it or not, my son was the one who actually checked out one, and he checked out actually Sonic, Sega and Sonic All-Star
Racing Transformed for the 3DS, so he got that at the library. There really wasn't anything that interested me there. The games of the 3DS that, like the Mario games and stuff, they had already been checked out, so they weren't there. So guys, thanks for watching the vlog. I know I rambled on for a while. Anyway, like always, thanks for watching, rating, subscribing, and I'll talk to you guys later for another video. Thanks for watching.